Welcome to Times Media and the St. Cloud Times Editorial Board endorsement interviews for the 2008 elections. The Editorial Board is the voice behind the Times Our-View, which appears daily on the opinion page and website. Board members are conducting this and other interviews involving races and issues on your 2008 Election Day ballot. Board members are Times Media Publisher and President Bill Albrecht, Executive Editor John Bodette, Opinion Page Editor Randy Krebs, Community Representative Dory Larison, and Times Building Manager Mark Hessler. The board has neither say nor involvement in directing Times news coverage. Similarly, Times reporters are not involved in this endorsement process.
Thank you. All right, next question topic, and we are going with
Table A, 1, 2, 3, 4.
Okay, so the question topic is, the state is projected to face another big budget deficit come January. What are your specific solutions, and what potential approaches would you support or oppose? And again, we ask for specificity. So, Rob.
I support tax fairness. I don't believe that we have tax fairness in the state right now. The Department of Revenue does an annual tax incidence study. This is nonpartisan. It's done by the Department of Revenue. The commissioner is appointed by the governor. This year, that tax incidence study showed that the top 5% wage earners in Minnesota pay approximately 9.6% of their income to state and local taxes, while somebody making $40,000 pays 12.2%. That's 27% more that somebody at the middle or even lower middle class is paying than the wealthiest Minnesotans. I think it's a no-brainer. We make taxes more fair. We stopped this 10-year tax break to the wealthiest Minnesotans. Times are tough right now. If we'd have done that a couple of years ago, we wouldn't have $1 billion deficit staring us in the face. That's a solution. I know that certain people don't want to hear that, but I think it's gotten to a point where you have to stand up and make some tough decisions. That's a lot easier than continually cutting state services to the bone like we have been. I'm all for cutting waste. I've worked in state agencies for 29 years. I see waste. I have some ideas where we can cut some waste there too. We can start by looking at why some of the state agencies are so top-heavy. I've also, I'm very proud of the fact that I've addressed through my job, I've addressed abuse in state service that's costed taxpayers millions of dollars through my union fighting an organization called MNCOR. And through that fight, we prompted a legislative audit that's now going on, that was approved by the Legislative Audit Commission because of the work, because I was the squeaky wheel. I have a lot of experience that way, so I'll fight waste where I see it, but I also think we have to have a fair tax system where everybody pays their fair share, and that will help our problem in a big way.
Okay. Dan.
Brian, I am a big advocate of a flat tax. You know, a flat tax where everybody pays a given percentage. So on that particular issue, I don't think we differ that much, other than I do not believe in class warfare. I don't believe that we should tag the rich because they have more money. I think that everybody needs to pay their fair share. Going into the budget issue itself, when you're talking about making tough decisions, 6 years ago when I got elected, we had a $4.5 billion budget shortfall. We made some tough decisions. We cut government by 15%. We held education harmless in that process. 2 years later, we had a $700 million budget shortfall. We brought it from 4.5 to a $700 million budget shortfall. We put 4 and 4 on the formula in education. In 2006, we came back in a $2.2 billion budget surplus. We had money to spare at that point. And so we went into that process not needing to raise taxes, and fortunately we did not raise taxes. However, when we came into the 2008 session, we were looking at a $937 million budget deficit again. Why? Because we grew government by 9.8%. We grew government beyond its means to pay for itself. The taxpayers don't have that option. They can't go to their employer and say, you know what, I need some more money, you need to pay me more. As a government, we need to do the same thing. When we get revenues from our constituents, from the people that pay the taxes, we need to say we're going to be honest with your buck, and we are going to live within the confines of what you've given us. We didn't do that, and instead we put $1.56 billion on the health and human services side, beefed up the federal poverty guidelines to 300%, which put more people onto state care. And so we're trying, and we've got 93% covered right now. We've got 93% of the population is covered by health insurance, and we were going after that other 7%. But the bottom line is government needs to live within its means. In this particular case, it's not.
Okay, all right. We are to Larry, okay.
First, I want to say that the deficit situation isn't necessarily because of an increase in spending. It's because of a decline in the economy. The biennial budget that we passed was the second lowest biennial budget increase that we've had in 15 years. So we need to make sure we're dealing with the right facts. When it comes to addressing the budget deficit and what I would do specifically for cuts and what I would make sure that I hold as a priority and don't want to see held harmless. Education, held harmless. No shifts on property taxes because of the decisions we've made. We just saw a great decision that was made in 2003 how it increased our county property taxes, and the counties yelled about it yesterday, and they're 100% right. What we need to do with some cuts, we need to look at where there's some redundancy in our bureaucracies. I think one area is within our environmental services. When you have the Board of Water and Soil Resources, you have the DNR, you have county environmental services, you have watershed districts, you have soil and water conservation districts. A lot of overlap in those areas, and we can do much better on what we spend in that area and try to bring some efficiencies. Secondly, within our criminal justice system, we're seeing some increases in there. We can do better in that area. One thing that Minnesota used to have was a parole board. We should look at that again. A lot of our offenders may not be best served in a prison system, and with the increase in technology and monitoring of individuals, can we do it more cost effective and efficiently by having a parole board set up to review certain individual status within our prison system? Some of the areas I will not support an increase in the sales tax. I will not support increases in property taxes, but I do want to see fairness when it comes to the percentage of income people have to contribute to their state taxes. And we have seen a divergent gap in the years with the rich paying less and the middle income paying more. And that's because of the shifts onto the property tax system. And as I said, I will hold harmless those shifts and make sure that the decisions that we make will bring some fairness into the tax system.
Okay. Jim.
The bottom line is the state needs to live within its means. Being from the private sector, when I was managing the companies, we had a budget. We had advertising budgets, we had budgets for employees, we had labor budgets, we had budgets. And in order for the company to be profitable and successful, you had to maintain those budgets. I have a household budget that is everly decreasing with the increased cost of fuel and food and everything else. So we live within our means. The companies operate within their means. The state seems to be the only entity willing to live without any control over how it spends. The reality is it is a spending issue. When you add that, going back, that $1.056 billion increase in health and human services, $355 million went to Minnesota Care for 40,000 families. So rather than find an actual solution to the health care, we put a Band-Aid fix on the taxpayer's back. There are legitimate healthcare solutions out there. There are legitimate spending solutions. There is an awful lot of redundancy within the state government that all needs to be taken a look at. I will tell you that my point of view is specifically everything is on the table. Everything needs to be revamped. The state has outgrown, it's outgrown its worth. When I was on the Cold Spring City Council and we looked at our budget, we went line item by line item. And we worked to reduce the areas that we could reduce. And the department heads come before the council, and everybody has wonderful solutions, and they all sound good. And what happens if you start throwing 5,000 here, 50,000 there, 20,000 here, it adds up. And that's what the state has done. The state has hundreds of millions of dollars in study money currently being spent. So.